Today I have the absolute pleasure of getting to show you all two new exclusive Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion preview cards provided to us by Fantasy Flight Games. Shout out and thank you to Fantasy Flight Games for allowing us once again to get to show you guys these exclusive cards. These cards are two rare cards, and if you are a fan of controlling your opponent's options or Grand Admiral THRAWN himself, I think you're going to really like these ones. Let's take a look at them. What's up everyone, it's Dan with Main Deck, and as I said in the intro, today we have two exclusive Star Wars Unlimited preview cards. As a reminder, Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion is launching March of 2024. It is one of our most anticipated games of next year. We are super excited to be getting into it, and in fact, very soon we're going to be launching a new Star Wars Unlimited focused podcast. It's going to be myself and Main Deck team member Jason Toro joining forces every 2 weeks to bring you our latest info and thoughts and opinions and all that nonsense on specifically Star Wars Unlimited. So swing back for that. That should be launching in December very soon. So really pumped to bring you guys that. For now, let's take a look at these two new preview cards. And we are going to start with Regional Governor. Regional Governor is a 2-cost Vigilance unit. No heroism or villainy, just Vigilance. It is a 1 power, 4 health Imperial official with, when played, name a card. While this unit is in play, opponents can't play the named card. So I was really excited to see this one for a number of reasons. First of all, just lore-wise, it's very cool to see like the regional governors that were first referenced in A New Hope, and then we've seen them in Rebels and the Bad Batch and Clone Wars and all sorts of stuff since then. They do have the correct little tag there, the 6 blue over 3 red 3 yellow. I just like that nice little note about the art that they got that all perfectly correct here. This is notably another of these Imperial units that is not villainy related. I think they tend to do this with the people who are just kind of working in the system. They're not necessarily villainous Imperials, but I mean, her job is just to be a governor, you know, and she's just going to try and govern. She's not really got the same aspirations as like Palpatine or Vader or something, but, you know, I guess some of the governors could be good, some of them could be bad, so this one's right in the middle. Now, effect-wise, when played, you get to name a card, and while it's in play, your opponent can't play that card. If anyone out there is familiar with Magic the Gathering, and in its heyday, the card Meddling Mage was an absolute monster of a card. These effects have tended to be a little less played over the years, but they can still be really good at sort of shutting particular strategies out of the game. In the case of Star Wars Unlimited, I'm quite interested in this card here because there are a number of ways you can combine this with some effects that we already think are going to be quite potent to really get a lot of value out of this governor. And importantly, that 4 health is a lot higher than the 2 that cards like Meddling Mage had back in the day. So when I look at this card, the first thing that I'm thinking about is effects that obviously let me know what is in my opponent's hand, and that leads me to think, of course, of Grand Admiral THRAWN. Grand Admiral THRAWN, I think, is going to be a leader that is going to be very potent with all these cards coming out, and just wait until our second card. If you're a THRAWN fan, I'm super excited to show that one off. We have cards that will really allow you to take advantage of knowing exactly what is in your opponent's hand. It's so thematic, wonderful that THRAWN gets to know all of those plans and then execute by playing these cards that will stop the opponent from putting their plans into motion. Additionally, though, not just knowing cards in your hand, if you are going to play cards like Waylay or cards like Cunning, you are able to return particular cards to your opponent's hand and then drop the regional governor and stop them from replaying those cards, which is a pretty cool little strategy for a Vigilance Cunning deck to be able to employ. And honestly, those are cards that you might already want to play in a THRAWN deck. So if you're doing like a Vigilance THRAWN, I can see all of this working together nicely. Go ahead and throw in a base that gives a shield to your regional governor to keep her alive and in play and stopping your opponent's plans from going into motion. And I think you're going to be really gaining a lot of tempo on the opponent and taking control of the game in pretty short order there. I don't think it's just villainy that gets to have all the fun here, though, because if we look at heroism, we just got revealed Spark of Rebellion, an incredible card, clearly a card that's going to see a lot of play, and a card that lets the Cunning and Heroism player immediately look at their opponent's hand and know everything in it so that they can then go, okay, I'll drop a Regional Governor now, I'll discard that card, and then I will drop Regional Governor and stop you from playing those cards instead. You can very quickly shut down a lot of your opponent's options with a combo like that as early as turn 3. Pretty strong. I think that's pretty nice. So the one thing is that that 4 health is and 1 power, it's about the same as like R2D2 C3PO. Those are units that can last a little bit of time, but it will not take much for your opponent to take these out, and it's not like she's pushing much back at the opponent's units that are attacking it. So I wouldn't expect her to last a ton of time unless you start doing kind of shielding shenanigans. And of course, that is something that both Cunning and Vigilance are good at. So I'm not sure about playing her in things like Aggression and Command yet because the synergies aren't quite there. But in Cunning and Vigilance, I think she's going to be absolutely incredible. But we still have so many more cards to see. So I'm excited to hear. Leave a comment down below with how you think is the best way to play Regional Governor. And I would love to read your thoughts. Now let's move on to the next card, and here we have a very, very cool unit. This is Chimera, Flagship of the 7th Fleet. Yes, we got to preview THRAWN's own flagship Star Destroyer. How cool is that? This is an 8 cost Cunning and Villainy of Course unit with 8 power, 7 health. It is an Imperial Vehicle Capital Ship. Now, this certainly is going to make your opponent tremble when you drop this thing. It is shielded right from the get-go. It is hard to deal with. Now, it's still going to be weak to stuff like Vanquish, but that's kind of the point of Vanquish. What isn't weak to it? But if your opponent's trying to do any sort of damage to get rid of this thing, it's going to take quite a bit to get through that. And the Chimera has on attack, name a card, an opponent reveals their hand and discards a card with that name from it. Once again, you put that THRAWN into play and you get to know exactly what cards your opponent is drawing, and then you can go ahead and selectively start to deal with them. Now, because of the cost of this thing, you might be thinking about playing this instead in like a THRAWN Command and Cunning deck where you can use cards like Resupply, Super Laser Technician, and Command in order to get those resources out a little bit faster and then take advantage of THRAWN's hand knowledge. But it is kind of interesting to me too to be able to slap this in the same deck as Regional Governor and just have a lot of ways of dealing with your opponent's hand at every stage of the game. A deck like this certainly could go late enough just to be able to play that 8-drop raw without having any ramp sources at all. But as long as this Chimera stays in play every single turn, it's going to be removing your opponent's options as long as you're able to name the card correctly and dealing a lot of damage. So certainly a worthy endgame threat. Now, it doesn't do the kind of like immediate board impact that Emperor Palpatine or Devastator are able to achieve, but despite that, I certainly think that this is a scary threat to see. And the big question with Star Wars Unlimited is, how late are you typically able to take the game in these decks? We have some decks that are quite aggressive with a lot of tools to be able to deal a lot of damage very fast. So a deck like this just needs to figure out how it can stabilize to get this down. But if it can, your opponent is going to be suffering quite a bit with all this massive fleet of Star Destroyers that the villainy aspect has to play in the endgame. So regardless, very cool, super flavorful card. It works perfectly with THRAWN and is that imposing threat that the opponent just has to find a way to deal with. I am curious to see if we'll get some Purgle card that just is able to nuke Star Destroyers at some point. That would be very cool and flavorful. But until then, with that shield token, it's going to be hard to get rid of the Chimera. So those are our 2 previews for the day. I'm not going to make this take any longer. I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at those. I want to hear your thoughts on both Regional Governor and Chimera in the comments below. Let me know what you think of these. And please, if you do enjoy Star Wars Unlimited, swing back in, give a subscribe to the channel and swing back in a little bit when we'll hit this podcast off the ground every 2 weeks. We'll be doing that podcast content plus other Star Wars Unlimited videos, especially as we get closer to release and forward. Star Wars Unlimited is planned to be a flagship game for our channel, so we are definitely going to be supporting it quite a bit, and we would love to have you guys along for the ride. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, let me know in the comments down below what you think, and we'll see you in the next one.